guys, it's Zach here, back again with another video. So today is a pretty huge day because a little while ago, yesterday at around maybe, 6 in the morning, something like that, Apple unveiled Logic Pro 10.5, and this is a huge update. It's really big for everybody, but it's also very big for people like us that use Voiceover, and I'll explain that in just a little bit. So I figured I am still doing sort of a little Logic kind of getting started type deal, don't worry. But I figured because this was such a big update and a lot of stuff has changed, for anyone who already has Logic, because I think there are some people that watch my videos that use it already, I figured I would just sort of do a little overview of some of the new features like a lot of people are doing, but sort of from a Voiceover user's perspective, explain what works, what doesn't work just yet, and yeah, we'll kind of get started and we'll go from there. But before I begin with that, I want to quickly talk about something else that happened on with that update. So there is a website for people that don't know, although I'm sure most of you are aware, but it's called appleviz.com. I'll put a link to it in the description, but it's appleviz.com. And they have a huge community of blind people that use Apple products, and they talk about different apps and software for macOS, iOS, all that stuff. They've got some podcasts, forum, nice stuff going on. And a lot of app developers come on there to talk about their apps and accessibility, and something that is quite frankly unheard of. Apple, the manager of Logic, the kind of team, the boss of Logic Pro, made a forum post on Apple Viz, and he was talking about the sort of 10.5 update. His name is David Earl. Some of you may have heard of him because he also has a video series on YouTube. He's got a channel called SF Logic Ninja. I don't think he updates that anymore, but he had some pretty interesting tutorials on there. But he posted to Apple Viz explaining sort of what they changed in this version for accessibility, and he wants feedback. He wants people to email him and talk to him about what they would like to see, what doesn't work, what could be improved, all that kind of stuff. And I would highly encourage everybody who watches this video, if you have any sort of issue with Logic, to write him and let him know, because the team is looking at that and they are going to hopefully address a lot of this stuff in the future. He said a lot of things are coming for accessibility in the future. So I think now they're really starting to take it very seriously. They took it seriously before, but now I think they're amping it up a notch. And it's really great to see that they're reaching out, that they want feedback. I'm going to be submitting feedback to them because I have some stuff I would like to see addressed as well. I'm kind of just taking some time to get all that together and figure out exactly what I want to say, because I don't want to overwhelm these guys with too much at once, but it's super exciting. So just keep in mind throughout this video that if I say something isn't accessible, don't let that discourage you, because it's very likely that will change sooner than you think, hopefully, if all goes well. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, Logic 10.5 is a really big update, and I simply do not have time to go over everything that has changed. So we're going to do a few things. Let's start with probably the biggest change, and this is kind of the huge thing that Apple is touting, and that is live loops. Now, what is live loops, you may be asking? Well, live loops is really cool. It's a different way of thinking about music production. So think about it this way. Normally in music production, you record tracks. You have a piano, you record yourself playing the piano. You have bass, you record yourself playing the bass on top of the piano. You do drums, and then you edit, you edit stuff, you move things around. Live loops is kind of a different way of working. In live loops, you've got a grid, and in that grid you have cells, and those cells can have any sort of performance you want. So a drum beat, a bass line, a guitar part, a vocal, whatever you want. And then you basically make music by triggering those cells. So you basically press them and they play. And you can sort of build up tracks like that. So instead of playing stuff in live, you kind of have sort of pre-recorded things, and you're triggering them on the fly and starting and stopping different ones. It's really good for like electronic music, hip hop type stuff like that. And this feature has been in GarageBand on iOS for a few years now, since about 2016, and it's finally brought to Logic, and it's, as far as I know, completely accessible, almost completely accessible, and it works really well. So let's go in and I'll show you that now, okay? So I am at the Logic main window, and I'm gonna make a new track, okay? Or a new project, rather. So I'm gonna do Command-N.
Don't close.
Let's turn this up a little.
Cancel.
I'm gonna close the project I'm in right now.
Don't save. Don't.
All right.
Press. Choose.
Just so you can
Choose
see
a
that.
project. Hide others.
Let's hide everything. Okay.
Table. New project. Row 1.
So you have different categories here. You've got new project.
In table. Recent. Row 2.
You've got your recent stuff.
Starter grids. Row 3.
Now this is what we want, starter grids. And these are all of the different live loops templates that Apple gives you by default, but you can make your own.
Out of collection. 1 item selected. Image. Boom back matter.
So we got tons of these, so let's pick one.
Image. Vision and verse. Image. Oblique structures. Image. Skyline heat. Image. Skyline matter. Image. Neon dreams.
Let's see, we got a lot
Image.
of
Solaris.
different ones to choose
Image.
from.
Bass house matter. Image. Chromium fray. Image. Elevated beat.
So let's do...
Image. Rising higher. Image. Chill hip hop matter. Image. Solaris. Image. Solaris.
Let's do this one.
At Prismatica sound pack. New disco.
All right.
Open it.
So
Choose.
I'm now going to press choose.
Logic Pro X busy. Busy.
It's loading everything up here.
Untitled.
All right. So this is a very different view to what people are used to. You have a grid now.
List editors.
And
Tracks.
so if we go into the tracks area.
Tracks group. Tracks header.
And don't worry if you guys don't know what any of this means. I'm going to be doing a full, getting started thing on Logic soon. This is mainly for the people that already have Logic and are somewhat familiar with it. So normally you would have your tracks area, your track headers, and you still have that if we interact with this.
Track 18, SynthPad group.
You have all your
Track 1, Solaris.
tracks. But if you go to the right,
Out live loops, scroll area.
this is where the magic happens. So if we interact with this.
In live loops, scroll area. 4 items, live loops grid.
Okay, you have a grid now.
Live loops grid.
If we go in here.
In live loops grid. 208 items, looping, start/stop. Solaris claps 01, row 1, column 1, cell.
These are all of the different loops that are in this template.
Looping, start/stop. Solaris claps 01, row 1, column 2, cell. Looping, start/stop. Solaris drum build, row 1, column 3.
So if we want to trigger one of these,
Looping.
we interact with the one we want to trigger.
In play, primary button.
And we press play. And this one is probably taking a while to play, so let's try another one.
Out looping, in play, press.
There you go. So you have some kind of snaps in here.
Out looping, start/stop. Solaris drum build.
So we can try this one. Kind of snaps. So that's cool, but that's kind of only playing individual loops. So let's stop this. Okay.
Out of live
And
loops.
now if we go to the right,
Live loops divider, grid.
we have a divider here. If we go in here,
In deactivate track, 2, but activate track.
these are kind of, I'm not entirely sure what this means yet. I
Deactivate.
think you can kind of activate and deactivate certain tracks.
Out of live loop scene trigger, grid.
But this is really how you would use this. So
In live loop scene trigger, grid. 13 items, selected, 1, cell. 2, cell.
these are different cells, and each one is sort of a row of loops. So it kind of triggers like bass, drums, guitar. So if we go
Applet selected, 1, cell.
here,
In trigger
this
button.
first one, and we hit trigger, it's going to trigger everything at once.
Press
So you can basically trigger
Out of 2.
whole sections like this. We could do the third one. And it's all in sync with your tempo. And you can record these.
Out of 4, set 5.
So we could go
4, hit
to
trigger.
the fourth one here. So
5, 6, 8, 9.
you can imagine the powerful kind of potential here. You can record your own loops into these cells, and then you can record your performance and try out different arrangements really easily.
11.
So you could try
12.
number 12 here.
Hit trigger.
And if you want to stop it, you just hit the space bar.
7.
And there you go. So that's live loops. It's a really, really interesting way of working. Some people will like it, some people will not like it, but it's there and it's very cool. And I know a lot of people that like Ableton, and Ableton has a very similar sort of capability, are going to love this. I think it's really interesting. I'm going to have to experiment with it more, but there you go. So that's live loops. Now, let's go to the next section. Let's close this.
Don't save button.
I'm not going to save it because I don't want to do that.
Press it.
And what we'll do now
table. New project.
is let's go back to a new project.
Out. Create and
An empty project. Okay.
In software instruments.
Okay.
Dial.
So we have an empty project.
Metronome on.
And I have my kind of piano here. Okay. So
Window.
aside from that, the really kind of main theme of this update seems to be sampling and what you can do with drum loops and bass lines and all this stuff. A lot of people really didn't like the old EXS sampler that was in Logic for the better part of 15 years. And Apple has finally replaced it with something a lot more modern. Now, for people that are blind, I don't really know what difference this will make. The new sampler isn't very accessible at the moment. Again, that will hopefully change soon. It's mainly just a more simple interface, and it has sort of some new capabilities with using Flex to change the pitch of samples without changing the speed, which is really cool, but again, right now, it's not really useful. I haven't really been able to get it to work, although I'm still, learning about it, so we'll see. But the big thing that I'm really, really into is the Quick Sampler, which is kind of the little brother to this big sampler. And the Quick Sampler is really cool because you can load a single sample. So let's say you have a drum loop, right? Or maybe a single note on the guitar, and you want to load it in. You can do that, and then from there, it will just map it across the keyboard. So you can make new instruments from scratch really, really easily. And then you can, have fun with adding effects or doing whatever you like. The only thing with the Quick Sampler, kind of like the regular, multi-sampler, loading files is kind of a problem. They don't expose the load menu at the moment. Hopefully that will change. I'm going to write to the Logic team about that, and hopefully we can get that fixed. But I have a workaround, and I think people that use music production software on the Mac should really get this. It's free, and it helps a lot. It's a little plugin called VOCR, and it's developed by this guy named Chi Kim. He's a really cool guy, and he made this plugin for macOS and VoiceOver. And basically what it does is it takes pictures of the screen, and then it allows you to move the mouse to different elements on the screen that VoiceOver might not see, because it does something called OCR, which stands for Optical Character Recognition. So it tries to kind of guess what letters are on the screen to make up words, and then it allows you to move the mouse to those words and click on them. So In the quick sampler, you can use that to load audio files and to do a few other things. So let's try that out right now. I'm going to get a drum loop from the Apple Loops library.
Tracks. Inspect.
Also, in 10.5, there are a ton of new loops and sounds. If you go into the sound library,
Show.
there's a ton of stuff.
Play loop.
So let's
Mute
find
loop off.
something.
Blues rock. Prismatic. Skyline
so
heat.
much.
Tech toy. Vintage vision and verse.
Let's try in here.
Vision and verse. 400. Loop.
And I'll just get
Fave. Job instrument. Fave. X. Instrument.
Instruments
Check Fave.
and-
Musical log. All drums. Check.
drums.
Out 94 up. Play loop. Name.
Let's find a cool beat.
Back in the day topper. Back to school beat. Back to
Let's see.
beyond the pay topper. Bit by bit. Bit by
Yeah, that works. All right.
bit by.
So let's copy this into the project.
One.
Like so.
One.
All right.
Out. Two. One.
Okay. So let's say we want to make this into a sort of sliced up like drum loop, right?
In track.
Now,
In
there are a few
track.
ways to do this.
Track 2. Bit by
One way is to press Control E like this,
toolbar. But
and it brings
drum
up a little.
instrument.
Oops, I did the wrong thing.
Okay.
Press Control D.
What?
That's something completely different.
Track 2.
That's a drum replacement, which is also very cool.
Logic Pro X. Command
Let's
not.
try that again.
Track 2. Classic electric.
There we go. Okay.
Instrument. Transient mark.
I think, yeah.
Regions. Create zones from.
So
Convert regions to new sampler track. Create zones from.
you have some different options here.
Regions. Radio button. 1 of 2.
You've got regions or
Transient markers.
transient markers, and that's what you want for drums because that's going to slice them up and put them all across the keyboard so you can play them.
Instrument. Sampler. Selected. Radio button. 1 of 3.
Now you have 3 different options for the type of instrument you want to have these samples loaded into. You've got the sampler, which is the multi-sampler.
Drum machine designer.
You have drum machine designer, which is like a drum machine type deal where you can have individual control over each kind of hit.
Alchemy. Radio.
And then alchemy, which is the like huge sample manipulation synth that's in Logic. I'm going to choose the drum machine designer, actually.
Drum machine selected.
I think this is actually probably easier because for people that don't have VOCR but still want to kind of take advantage of this, this is a good way to do it.
App create one-shot zones. Uncheck. Check instrument name.
So we're not going to do that. And all we have to do now is just
Okay.
hit create, and if we give it a second,
Busy.
it's just going to go ahead and get all those samples, and it will take a moment.
Dimmed.
There we go.
Tools.
So now
Library. Browse.
I can open up musical typing,
Musical.
and if I go down the keyboard, there we go. Now they're all sort of sliced up. Oops,
2 beats.
I almost started recording. Here we go. So you have all of the samples, and also it recreates the actual loop. So
What?
now you can go into the piano roll and move the different slices around.
Bar 1.
So that's the original. And you
What?
can go in, if you want, and move the different notes around and juggle the beat and do whatever you want.
Track.
The quick sampler does give you some more options, but I think just in case people don't have VOCR, I'll save that demo for another day. I'm also going to do a demo of actually how to get VOCR set up because it's a bit of a complicated process. So I think a walkthrough would help some people as well. So yeah, that's sort of the sampling functionality.
Track 3. Bit by bit.
So let's get rid of that,
Can-
and I'll show you one more thing that's new in this version that we're able to use.
Number of tracks. Software instrument.
All right, let's make a software instrument track.
Details. Output 1.
I'll show you a bug fix actually too.
Default patch.
So in the software instrument details area, you are able to actually select what instrument you want Logic to create for you. And so here what we're going to do is we're going to go into this menu, and in previous versions of Logic, the way you were able to get into this menu is you have to actually click the mouse. You have to like root the voiceover cursor to the mouse and click on it. You don't have to do that anymore. You can just hit VO space
Menu.
and it opens up. So
Alchemy. SP.
we're going to go down
Album. Drum kit design.
to this awesome plugin right here.
Drum synth. Submit.
Drum synth. This is super, super cool.
Drum stereo.
Let's make a mono
Mono.
drum synth.
Mono. Out. Create.
This lets you synthesize your own drums from scratch, and it's completely accessible as far as I can tell.
Library. Route.
So when you open it up for the first time,
Metronome on.
you have a kick. And it's kind of a bass thing, so you could do like an 808 or... It's so hard-hitting that it's like rattling my speaker, which is
Window.
pretty cool, I guess. So
Track.
we're gonna go into the drum machine, or the drum synth plugin.
Mix. Heavy. In off. Mid. On. Drum synth. Open.
Okay.
Heavy.
So we have a ton of presets, so if you don't want to mess with it, you can just go in here and say we want a snare.
Snares. Boxy snare.
Let's say we want this snare. You have a snare. You can try another one. It's like a weird clap thing. Another clap. There you go. But let's say we want to make it from scratch.
Dark.
So I'm going to go back
Recall
to the default, which is this kick. There you go. Now, it's really high. What I'm going to do now is go into Controls View.
Controls.
And I'm going to show you yet another thing that they changed for VoiceOver. This is very, very nice.
Link. Table. Sound category.
So before, when you were in Controls View in Logic, instead of this very nice table that we're going to take a look at now, you had a huge like scroll area with sliders, and it was all kind of jumbled together. It was a little bit of a mess. And if you had a lot of parameters, it was really difficult for VoiceOver to go through because there were just too many things for it to have to deal with. Now it's in this nice table. Check it out.
In table, sound category, kicks pop-up button.
So
selected.
Each parameter is sort of I guess like a column.
Sound module, heavy kick pop-up button.
And if you want to change it, let's say we want to go to the sound category because we want to make a snare.
Sound category, kicks pop-up button.
We interact, go to the right,
kicks pop-up,
and you can hit VO space.
Menu.
And there you go.
Snares and clap percussion.
Some people may think of this as sort of a bit slower, but honestly, once you get used to it, it's a really cool way of working, in my opinion.
Hats and cymbals.
I think this was very, very thoughtful of them to implement.
Snares.
So let's do snares.
Sound.
We want to make a snare. And right now we can go to the right.
Out of table. In sound module. Electronic snare pop-up button.
Now you have all the different kinds of snares you can base your sound on.
Air snare. Snappy snare. Snappy
so
snare. Mechanical clap.
We want like a clap.
Synthetic side. Gritty snare. Silicon side. Human clap.
So let's go with...
Human clap.
Mechanical clap.
Sound.
There we go. Cool.
Sound mod.
So now, for each different sound type, you have different kind of parameters that you're able to adjust.
Reset.
Reset is kind of just if you want to reset it.
Tone. 66.0%.
So you've got your tone. So we interact.
In 60.
Go to the slider.
In 60.
And we can move it.
50.
So if we want like a darker.
45.44.
Let's make it kind of. Yeah.
26.
It brings a little more bass into it.
12.
Yeah. That's cool. Maybe a little higher.
20.
Yeah.
Out 20. Out dirt. 33.
You have dirt. Okay.
In
So I guess
34.
that's kind of how dirty it is.
7.
Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay.
71.
So kind of. Let's make it a little more clean.
26.
Let's try it here. Yeah.
Out 20s. Up speed. 48.
Speed. Okay. So I think this is how sort of tight the clap is.
In 49.
So if you want it to be a little more tight, you can
6.
take it up.
67.
Take it up some more. If you want it to
77.
be a bit more loose and kind of, I guess, flammy.
28. 27.
Let's see, maybe.
14
I
point.
might be getting this wrong.
3.
Again, I've only played with this for about 10 minutes.
4 points.
It seems to be doing something, but I'm not totally sure what yet.
40.
I'll have to read the manual and see. But yeah, there's speed.
Out 40 point. Out cycles. 31.
Then you've got cycles.
32 point.
Let's see what that does.
7.
Okay, that seems to make it
73.
more ringy, I guess.
92 point. 91 point.
More like dirty. I'm not totally sure, but
50.
it's definitely doing something.
Out 50. Out decay. 35.
Okay, decay is cool. See, that changes the length of the clap. So
In 34.
if you want a shorter clap, you can take the decay down.
3.
Now it's really tight. But if you
4.
want it to be longer,
15 point.
you go there.
25.
If we want it to be really kind of reverbery.
7.
Is that a word?
7.
There you go. So you don't need to add reverb anymore.
80.
You sort of default. There you go. And you can make it as long as you want. You can go
89
all the way to 100. There you go.
99
Let's take it back down a little bit, though. Let's take it maybe to...
46
Yeah.
out of 46 volume
You got
0
your volume.
key tracking on pop-up
Key tracking. So if you don't want it to follow the pitch of your keyboard,
it on to off
turn it off.
press up
Now you play any note you want, and it won't change. So that's good for doing rolls, or if you're trying to layer this with other drum synth sounds, because we can combine these into a kit and layer them that way.
out mode mono pop-up mode
And that's your mode, so if you want it to be polyphonic or not.
sound category reset tone 20
So yeah, there is drum synth, and again, the parameters change for each sound. If we try,
sound in snares in
say,
many percussion hats and
I don't know,
hats and
percussion, we can try that.
sound out table it sound module it deep tom
And we can try
metal machine 80s cowbell
kind of that
sound module
very
in sound
classic.
80s cow shaker
Let's try
shaker.
shaker.
sound
There you go. That's a shaker. So
out table it's reset tone attack
some of these are similar, like tone,
dirt
but then you've got like attack.
attack it's 72
So let's see what that does.
84 83 point
So if we take it back, we'll probably be more tight.
50,
Yeah.
51 point
All right, cool. So there you go.
out dirt 60 crush
Got dirt again.
It
We
for-
try
it 46
crush. See what that does.
se-
Okay, so
76
that's kind of doing some
fi-
affecting of
56
the shaker. Let's maybe not have that be so much.
10
There you go.
out 10 out decay volume
Decay again.
in 44
Let's have it be sort of less decay, so we have a
8
yeah, it's a very tight shaker. And there you go.
out 18 point out volume key tracking mode
So yeah, that's the drum sampler, or the drum synth rather. And it's very cool. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it. So yeah, there is sort of the main things that we're able to use for the moment in this update. There is probably more. I bet I'm missing out on some stuff. I've only had this for about a day. But so far I'm pretty impressed just with all the sounds and everything, especially the Logic team, sort of the manager reaching out and really wanting to get feedback, which is awesome. So yeah, in terms of what we can't use, the step sequencer, which is another kind of big thing in this update, doesn't seem to really work very well with VoiceOver. VoiceOver can kind of see some of the controls, but I think maybe they didn't have time to make that usable just yet. Hopefully soon. That seems to be really cool just from what I was able to kind of hear of it. There are some loops in the library that use the step sequencer, and they're able to do some really awesome kind of glitchy effects. You do some cool stuff with that. And I think that's kind of it in terms of what we're not really able to use aside from the samplers and the step sequencer. Everything else seems to be kind of accounted for the most part. There are a few little things like, for example, the remix effect, which is sort of something that's meant for the live loops, although you can use it in your regular projects too, as far as I understand. It lets you do like stuttering and filtering and all sorts of cool stuff. That you can actually control via your iPhone or iPad if you have one, with an app called Logic Remote, which we can also do a demo on if people are interested. I haven't tried it, but I'd assume it would work because it works in GarageBand. There's a very similar feature set there on iOS, and that works really well. So I assume that would work fine. Other than that, in terms of accessibility, it's a really nice update. They're taking steps to improve a lot, and I think this is just sort of the beginning, where I think we're going to see a lot more improvements down the line, hopefully, and yeah, it's very exciting. So I will end the video here. Again, if you have anything you want me to go over in terms of content for Logic, please let me know in the comments. I will be doing sort of a basic getting started course, but apart from that, it's really up to you. What do you want to see? Please let me know, and I will do my best to make it happen. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you guys soon.